So what do they call you?
They call me Rage in the streets and then right here in the penitentiary, man.
Rage, man. What are you incarcerated for? How long is your sentence?
Man, I got 2 life sentences for murder and with a human corpse. And I'm level 4 maxed up with the maximum security, man, so for that charge.
Okay, where are you from right here on the streets, man?
And I'm from Sacramento, man. I'm from the hood, man. What do you mean? I'm from where homicides come from, man. I'm from Elm Street. I'm from, they call it the Valley of the Slums, and there ain't no love there, man.
You know, before we even dive into this life story, man,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Before we even dive into your life story, I understand that you have a few words that you would like to express. You know, the floor is all yours. I'm gonna go ahead and allow you to do so, sir.
Yeah, look, I want everybody who's listening to hear me clear and hear me perfectly when I say this. That I've been involved in crime all of my life. You're going to hear a lot of horrible stories, but I can tell you this one thing: if I could help one kid, save one parent from losing their kid to this system, to this penitentiary, it's a monster, the belly of the beast, whatever you want to call it. I just want to say this, man, that if I could change it all, you know, I would. Some of us, we were given the hand we dealt, and I was given this hand, and I had to roll with it. It's all them kids out there, man, that you're thinking that this life is cool, and that I'm your big homeboy. You know, I've heard it all, and I can tell you this, man, turn around while you can. You know, do something else, because I sit in a box, a coffin all day waiting to die, and every time they open my door, I never know if I'm going to live or die, if I'm going to die today or I'm going to live today. And it's nothing I wish on anyone, and it's my sickness. I haven't been able to change myself, but only progress and become Rage. They call me Rage because I have extreme outbreaks of rage, and I'm violent, and it's something that started obviously young. And that's why I hope these kids can hear me and just listen, because I promise you there's nothing. I've dug myself a hole, and I honestly can't pull myself out of it now. And if you can hear what I'm telling you, man, and turn your life around and do something with it, because I have no life at all. I live in gangland. Straight to I live in gangland, and it's no life. It's no life, so try to change your life, turn back, do something else, because I promise you, this life is short-lived. I watched my friends get killed by the police, shanked, thrown off piers. I've seen my friend himself jump off of three flights of stairs with a noose around their neck and hear the bone snap from my cell. I've seen my friends get hot shots and die 4 feet from me, you know, and the cops doing CPR. There's nothing good that comes from this. And I'm telling you this in hopes maybe one day you can live a productive life, because I can't. I've accepted what I've done. But you may have a chance. So for what it's worth, take my words, or let it go through one ear and out the other. You're going to suffer. And that's pretty much what I got to say about that on that subject.
Ray, you expressed to me a little earlier that, you know, this started off as a very young age. There was something with you, man, that, you know, you had this, perhaps this anger that you carried with you, man. Where do you think this anger stems from? You know, where does it come from?
Well, you know, I'll keep it real, man. You know, it's because, you know, obviously I'm a gangster. I'm through and through, but when I was a young child, I seen a woman get killed in front of me, man, hit with a shotgun, and her husband run up there and hit her in the head. And I remember that day sitting there looking at it, my sister screaming next to me, and all I felt was silence. Even though I heard those shotty blasts, that 12 gauge kicking and seeing it was a calm over me. I wasn't scared. I wasn't sad. You know what I'm saying? I've always been different in the sense to where Nothing bothers me. Violence doesn't bother me. Seeing people killed don't bother me. Seeing people get removed, it's never bothered me. And this started when I was young. Seeing this in my mom, she thinking that she would move me, and she moved me to the city of Sacramento. And I can tell you, this is where I learned to become a gangster, where I watched Bloods, Crips. I seen the North Daniels doing their networking, standing on the corner, selling crack, pimping women, and not having $2 and wondering why they dress so nice, why they have everything and I don't have nothing. And asking my mom, asking her, I need some money. How come they got everything? And her feeding me just a line of and finding out as I grew up. Since I was young, I've been sitting on the back of cars with a Browning pistol, selling crack, selling cream, that's how it started to me. And it's a dog-eat-dog world. It is a bad world, and it's just something I was born in. Seeing how real gangsters conduct themselves and how gangs take themselves out. I'm a product of my environment, and it's my sickness. I like this life. I live this life. So, since I was young, I've been like this, and I can't change, and I don't think I ever will, to be honest with you, Tony.
I beg to differ with you right there, my boy Kane. I think you can change, my man. It's all a matter of perspective, my boy. Unfortunately, man, you have been dealt one hell of a hand right there, my worst nightmare, in fact. But I really hope that you do see the light, because, man, all types of laws are changing, and they are starting to release all types of people, nowadays. So, my friend, please, see that, my friend. I'm going to ask you, there's one thing that I'm very curious about. I obviously see that you're covered with tattoos, from head, it seems like from head to toe, your whole chest, your whole face. I want to understand what these tattoos mean to you, but I also want to know, if you can remember, what your mindset was back then when you were starting to get these tattoos on your face, on your chest.
Right, yeah, so I'm covered. You know what I'm saying? My face is completely covered. I have, when you meet someone and you look at them in their eyes, the first thing you look at is in their eyes, and on my eyebrows where the hair would grow, it says "and realist" across my face, because I'm short-tempered, man. Every single tattoo is simple. Every act of violence that you commit in this penitentiary, using a knife on somebody, or jumping someone, or having somebody removed or taken out, you will receive tattoos. You will earn these tattoos. And since I was a child, I have been in juvenile halls. I have been in baby prison. I am now in adult supermax prison. Like, every tattoo, man, the crosses on my shoulders are status and in hierarchy in what I'm involved with, in the people I associate myself with, that I won't speak too much on. But I can tell you that every single teardrop under my left eye means I've already killed. I've already killed once. It's when you're involved with something, it takes years. And the only way in this type of lifestyle to rise and move through them ranks is violence and crime. And that I know about, and this is what I live. My chin, 5150, means I don't care. I'm from head to toe, literally my whole head, my neck, everywhere your skin is, my body's covered. And every single tattoo I've gotten, I've earned through violence, through, I can't tell you, unimaginable crimes that I've already committed, and I'm going to continue until, when you come to prison, you pick a side, and you're going to live this life. That's it. If you're black, you're with the blacks. If you're white, you're with the white, Mexican, so on and so on. People don't know about any of this. Nobody wants to talk about any of this because it's ugly. I don't care. Like I said, if I can save that one kid or a parent who's losing their kid to this lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle and you can't leave it. Trust me. Change is the hard. I can't. Every day I wake up, like I see and the door opens and I see, man, is today the day that someone's going to shank me and throw me off the tier? So when we do what we do and we keep following the rules and you keep doing what you're saying, I'm not talking about the cops' rule. the cops. I don't care about the cops. I'm talking about these inmates, the people that I associate with, and those are the people and the rules you're going to follow. Because these rules, you break these rules, you cross these lines, Tony, man, I can tell you they'll cut your, or they'll have 2 or 3 people run in your cell and bang you out with a knife and just walk out and drop the knife. And it doesn't matter. What do you do when you've already given the worst of the worst criminals? I'm in a supermax prison. My prison is famous. Corcoran prison, we're famous right here, and we're the home of the violence. And none of it's good. None of it's good.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Not knowing if you're going to die every day, now that's something, and I don't wish that on nobody. But you will accept it, and it'll desensitize you. It'll make you to where when you watch your friend's heart get blown out of his back and he dies on the floor in a riot next to you, you'll go, there goes the little homie. And that's it. We don't even know his real name. Just a handle he picked up along the way. You get what I'm saying to you, Tony?
Oh, absolutely, man. And you know what? It's crazy that you even mentioned that.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
It's crazy that you even mentioned that because there's been some news as of recently that at High Desert State Prison, there's been 2 inmates that were killed, I think yesterday or the day before, for actually removing someone at the gun tower, shot the Mini-14 and actually took 2 of the assailants out, which is, it's crazy when you think about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, it's funny because you said that, and it's going to hang up on us. But that was one of the prisons I was just at. You're talking level 4, C yard, 180 design, 2 different yards. See, I live and breathe this, and I was on that yard. And that's a rough yard to stay on. You've got a lot of gangster right there, and they count, and what they say matters. So I was there. It's funny you said that. I left that yard up there in High Desert. You got A yards, you got B yards, you got C yards. And I've been to prison. The first one you're referring to, I was convicted of shooting a .223 Sega assault rifle with a 100-round drum and trying to shoot 2 people. I found out one was a chomo, was a offender, and I was going, and he got away from me. God willing for him, because I'm out for blood. I'm going to knock you. And that's just what it is. And that's real. No bluffing. I ain't fun. And it's always been like that, Tony. I've been shot before, and I go, you know what? Next time, body armor. And
you've been shot before.
I've been shot 3 times already, my man. And you learn to just. You open up. If it's in Walmart, you open up. You know when you see me and you look at me, what I'm about. You know what I mean? So since I was 14, 15, I've been carrying a gun. Now I got it down. I'm wearing that second chance bulletproof kit. That vest, that Black Hawk with that extra armor on it with the plate, just in case you get me. I've had somebody pull up in the truck, my boy, and roll down the window and shoot me in the chest. Like, what a life, right? Like, that ain't good. And you learn, if it wasn't for that big boy vest protecting my, we wouldn't be talking today. And that's real. And the person who shot me, they know who they are. You couldn't get me. You know what I mean? So, it's been, young, you couldn't get me. So, you know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, bro, that's where it comes from, Tony.
Rage, bro. There's so many different stories in the near future, man, that we're definitely going to dive into. So, ladies and gentlemen, please hit that like button and that subscribe button for Rage, sir. Today's video in particular, man, I'm hoping that you can break down, your life sentence, man. What was it that happened, man? How the hell did this whole thing play out, sir? Would you be able to break it down for us, man?
Yeah, so listen, man, I got to a point where I was involved with the cartel pretty heavy, every single day. You name it, I sold black tar. My cream of my corn is black tar. That's my cream. and I sold kilos every single day. Every single day I sold kilo after kilo, and I beat the narco police. And if you don't think, because you're living right here in the great country of the USA, that we have some absolutely, like some narco cops, like I'm telling you, I beat the narco people. They come, DEA was on my line for a long, long time. You know, it's out there in the news. They call me Rage because of my violence, because I was the most ruthless drug dealer the city of Shasta, Redding, California, that was out there. So, I mean, and I was never robbed. Not once. Every second of every day you walk down the street. The industry, Tony, is the most ruthless industry in the world. And those type of people I dealt with every day. And I can tell you this, that on the wrong day, at the wrong time, the devil knocks on your door. And that day, the devil knocked on my door. And somebody was going to die that day. You know, like, you know, I knew right when I let this, you know, it was February 1st, 2017. And my friend, I won't name him, he ain't so much a friend now, if I see him, you know who you are. He brought somebody over to my house, and I didn't know this was going to be a robbery. Obviously, I said it was February 1st, 10:30 in the morning. You know, drug dealers have the most dope, most drugs on the 1st of every month. And the reason why is because we want your Social Security checks. We want your general assistance check, your welfare money. We don't care. We want your money. And we know you get paid by the government. So we're going to go ahead and keep a whole lot of drugs. It's like Christmas. Perfect for the holidays, Tony. It's like Christmas for a drug dealer on the 1st of every month. All those checks all get cashed. And every loser, every crackhead, they're my buddies. You see, they need what I got. And once you get stuck on this black tar, it'll eat your life up. That day, Tony, the devil knocked on the door. And I said, I've always had a problem. I told you from the beginning, I love guns. You name it, I love guns. And that dude was there with my homeboy trying to sell me, specifically James Bond's gun. Anybody who knows anything, the Walter PPK, that's James Bond's gun. And they said, you want to buy this? Well, you're asking somebody who's infatuated with weapons. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to some steel. I'm tactical with it. And I said, of course I do. Why don't you come in? Why don't you sit down, get comfortable? Maybe we can come to some kind of agreement about a gun. And I didn't know the intentions, Tony, to these people. You never know. But the greed got the best of me in wanting that gun. It was like the devil was calling me. My sickness is calling me. I wanted it. And I opened up the door. You know, at that time, I had taken the house and modified it, just paranoid that someone is going to get me. I mean, you name it, concussion bars that you order online from wish.com, armor on your window.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Like you become smart at your crimes. So for me, I've already several people. I don't care. The cops can come after me. Go ahead. Come. I already got 2 lives. Go ahead and do your will. I don't care. Like, I've been a bad dude. So when that day you're referring to is my main case, the one I'm serving right now, I have a life sentence for killing him, of course, and then I have another life sentence. Just so if I die and come back to life, they can't let me go. And that's for me to, that's the sentence, which that's a special allegation is what you're talking about. That's actually not a charge. It's an allegation that goes to first-degree murder so they can put the death penalty on you and execute you. Obviously, I know what I'm talking about because I fought the death penalty for 34 months, walk-alone status, 5 cops on me everywhere I go in full chains with tasers because I'm a threat. because if I get out of them cuffs, I might.
So, while I was looking up your name, looking at your case, try to gather some type of information, try to get an idea of or an understanding of what you might have been involved in. And I seen a name by the name of Bambi came out that she also was wanted for questioning related to your case. Who is she?
Okay, so wow, I didn't think that name would came up. Bambi. Bambi was somebody who I love and I still love very deeply, and I bet she's smiling right now because she was my dime. I can't tell you, I beat the laws with her. See, I've been on parole my whole life, and she would carry my gun right there in her purse, and she had a permit. Again, it's about beating these laws. It's about being smart enough to beat the cops. And I loved every second. I had a good lawyer under retainer all the time who would represent me. I beat the narco police. What I mean is Syntef, Shasta County's narcotics division. I beat them. And right now they hate it. But it was she would carry my Glock or my Ruger for me. I had a big old handgun, 8.5-inch barrel Ruger, beautiful big gun, blow you in half. And funny because that was the murder weapon. But to move from that, to know how to make it is simple. You have to think bigger than the local neighborhood little drug dealer. See, every city and everyone who now that I'm about to spit this out there and let the world hear it, and everyone's going to change the way people look at every city in every country. Right here in the U.S., every terminal, what I mean, I'll get right to the point, every terminal, Tony, is a base where all of the city dumps, and every half an hour those buses change and people get to where they need to go throughout the city. And for a drug dealer, if you think about it militantly, that's how you'll get success like I did. I'd walk down the street and people would point, that's him. That's Rage. That's the infamous, the notorious gangster Rage. And I beat the cops every fucking turn. My drugs, the terminals, people would come. Well, they're mostly owned by cartels. And that's who I dealt with. And I won't say who or what or none of that. But I will let you know this. I started selling at a terminal. And I wouldn't have to get up and go look for my customers. You'll know the crackhead covered in tattoos and track marks getting off the buses. You know who they are. They'll come up to you. And it was simple. The cops would come, how I beat them. Bambi would sit right next to me, and she would have all of my drugs. She would have all of them on her. I mean, a couple ounces of pure, some black tar, they call it caca out there in Shasta County. That black tar got everybody out in the street shooting up behind Wendy's and Del Taco. It's bad. And I was responsible. I can't tell you how many overdoses and people. I've had women walk up to me in casinos and spit on me and slap me because they know somebody that my drugs have overdosed. And what I mean, this is the life. It's not a good life, but it's the life that I've chose. And when you're playing this life, it's like I said before, Tony, it don't last long. Bambi would sit there with my Glock.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
She would sit there with my Ruger Tony fully loaded, cocked back, just sitting. The cops would pull up and they would ask the security guard. He knows who he is, and it doesn't matter. I won't speak his name, but the cops would pull up, and this is how good it was, and this is how it is everywhere. You remember I said you're going to look at things a little different after you hear me. Things you never knew were happening under your nose in the city, everywhere. You just don't know. Why would you? You don't live this life. Well, I'm going to walk you through it. It's simple. The cops would pull up. They would go to the security guard. He gets fucking paid minimum wage, $10. I can pay him a lot more. And the people I worked with paid him a lot more. The cops would pull up, ask if there's any trouble or anything going on, and he would tell them no, and they would drive the away. They did this twice a day, right there in Shasta County, the terminal, the rock. I'll even say it. I'll put it out there. I don't care. And the cops would leave, and I would beat Reading Police Department 9 times out of 10. I'd sit there like a job, Tony, get up early in the morning. The early bird gets the worms, and I'd sell 2 ounces of black tar. I'd sit and I'd watch the news, and they would tell me, they would say that how many people overdose, and they compared me to a one-man crime wave. And that's fine. You can't keep stacking these life sentences on top of me. I don't care. I had to look up statute of limitations on some of the shootings that we're going to talk about, Tony, because I was thinking, I asked myself, like, damn, hey, can they throw some more time on me? And the answer is yeah. And I tell you, bring that on. I don't care. Bambi was right there with me from the beginning to the end. And like I said, I beat the narcos, Tony. I beat the narco police, the DEA. I got some real pissed off DEA agents who.
What happened there?
So this is over. All right, so I'll tell you, I'll go run uncut. So I'll go run uncut. It don't matter, I'm already convicted. So somebody that dude come to rob me, and they knew I was gonna that I was gonna want that gun. It's like asking a crackhead, hey, you want some crack? I love guns. I love the way they kick in your hand when you're shooting. I love the outcome of it. I love the smell of that powder when it's burning. And so they knew I wanted that gun. It was a nice chrome gun, Tony, too. I got pictures of it. It's about 6 inches. Got a 7 shots in it. A nice chrome Walter PPK. Well, I didn't know. I've never been robbed. I've never been robbed, not once. And this dude came on the first, and right when I let him in, I let him through that big metal security door on the front of the house, obviously. And that was my mistake. See, I've always took precautions to make sure that nobody can come in and through windows or through anything else. You know what I'm saying? And I never knew that I let him walk in the front door. The dude come that day, asked me if I wanted the gun. I wasn't unprepared. In some house slippers and some shorts. I've been my little Bambi all night long, dealing up, and I let him in, Tony. And my friend told me he ain't no friend. If I see him, I'm that is what it is, and he knows who he knows what it is. He knows what's coming to him. You come here, this is my world. But she let him in. He owed me $10,000. Big steroid crackhead. You know what I'm saying? So when he come in, he said, hey, you want to buy a gun? I said, yeah. He took off. Obviously he took off, and when he did, I asked this dude. I didn't know this dude. I realized, Tony, he had gloves on. And his beanie, I've seen him before. I've used them. They're reversible ski masks. They're about $18 at Walmart all day long. And I didn't, right when I saw him come in with the mechanic's gloves on, with the beanie, I knew what it was. I asked him, I said, let me see the gun or what? What's up? And that was at that time, Tony, he said, yeah, I'm going to show it to you. And he walked over to a backpack, opened it up, pulled the gun out, cocked it, took 3 steps back and pointed it in my face. At that point in time, I knew what it was, Tony. I knew that my life was right there. I was waiting to feel them burns from them shells. That's when you get shot, but it feels like it's not the bullet going in you. It's that bullet sizzling, and it's hot in your flesh. So I just kind of waited for it. And he said, I'll never forget it. He said, desperate times call for desperate measures. He said, I'm not leaving empty-handed. I just told him, I said, do you know who the you're dealing with? Are you sure you want to do this? And he goes, I know who you are. And he goes, it's okay. He goes, you might die today. And at the time, I just kind of thought about it, waiting for the trigger. I would have squeezed it, personally.
Call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And he kind of motioned with his head, like, hey, why don't we walk back? It was a back room back there. That was my room, way down the hallway, kind of like, way down there. And I told him, I said, hey, man, I got my chick back there, man. And as gangsters, we respect women and children. A real gangster, you respect a woman, like you respect your mama. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, no matter how callous and cold I am, I have sons, and you never wish anything upon any children. That takes a special piece of shit. And that's another story, because you come here with any of that weird. With that said, he kind of looked at me, knowing there was a female back there, and he goes, don't play no games with me, and I won't play no games with you. And I said, no, I get it. I ain't playing games. And for me, I'm not the one I couldn't get to that gun. He was about 5 feet away. And I couldn't get my hands on him fast enough. You know what I'm saying? So I knew, looking at that gun, Tony, that was a big hole.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
That's a 380, Tony. Whoa. Right when I knew that there was no way at getting at that pistol, no way of getting a knife and sticking him, killing him, and I just knew that I had to get to that back room, and even, you'd have been talking to someone else if I wouldn't have got to that back room. He let me go back there by myself, and that's his first mistake, and that's why he's in little pieces in plastic bags inside the woods out there in the Big Spino's trailer park. So I went back to the back of the room, and at the time, little Bambi was smoking, and she had no idea that we're being robbed. We're being robbed in broad daylight on the first of the month. When I'm sitting in my room with cameras, I got cameras all over the place. In birdhouses, hidden. You try to stay discreet, but you have to have some kind of protection. And I didn't have cameras in the house. Obviously, that's a little too much even for me. The cameras in the house. I had the whole place surrounded with cameras, and everything. All of my protection was to keep you out of the house, to keep you outside. I had put in concussion bars, like I said. Those are from Wish.com, or they were then, and that's armor. You can shoot them, you can open them up and shoot down on you. I had started. You take precautions in this lifestyle, especially when you're selling 5 kilos and making $273,000 every 2 to 3 months for a cartel. You start to take precaution, because obviously they'll put you in sulfuric acid and melt your fucking ass. And I knew who these people I'm dealing with. Obviously, you and I would tell people, you're not robbing me, and I would hope that everybody knows who I'm involved with, what I'm involved with, and you kind of don't rob someone like me. Obviously, I'm coming, but I knew that once I got to that room, Tony, and I opened up the door, I looked at Bambi in the face, and I said, Mama, we're going to get robbed, right? We're getting robbed right now. She started crying, and I told her I had they're like a gun safe. You strap them to the pillars in the wall, and you can put 6 or 7 guns on it, and a metal back comes over the back of the pistols, keeping them from children, keeping them locked up. I've always had my guns like that, and I couldn't find the key, Tony. I told her, here I am with 9 guns, and all of them are loaded, and I can't find the key, and I got a jacker in my home, a dude in your house with a gun, and deep down, more than likely he's going to kill you. He's going to kill me because the type of person I am, Tony. I'm the type, I'm going to come back, I'm going to have goons, I'm going to pay someone, and I'm going to get you. And that's how I lived. I lived 4 years. And people will be Googling it, looking it up. I don't care. Do it. Because everything I say, we've talked about it, you have to back it up. Both marathons. And that day, I couldn't find the key. And I almost, here I am yanking on that safe, Tony, trying to get the back of that thing open. And having these guns all loaded, ready to go. So because like I said before, I've already killed before. I've been linked to 2 other homicides in Shasta County. I'm from Sacramento. I'm from the hood. When I got sent up there, it's because they paroled me from the California Youth Authority, CHAD, in Chatterjee Youth Correctional Facility. Sacramento County didn't want me back. So I had to go up there to that little hick-ass redneck in town. So when I couldn't find that key, I remember Bambi, she looked at me dead in the face and she said, Daddy, the Ruger. We had been out prior, the day before, shooting the Ruger single 6 and the 8.5-inch barrel. And it was under the bed, fully loaded. Thank God Tony, she remembered because, somebody else might be telling you a different story today instead of me. And call it whatever you want. It worked out for me right when I grabbed that Ruger single 6 Magnum. My man, ain't it a 8.5-inch barrel? I'm gonna set you free. Right when I felt it and I had it in my hand, I immediately went over the Black Hawk bulletproof vest, saved me before when I was shot in the chest. When somebody pulled up, shot me in my chest and left. Still today, that's an open case. I don't know who shot me, but I can tell you it didn't kill me. Right when I grabbed that gun and I put that vest, I'll tell you what I told her, Tony. I looked at her. I knew someone was going to die today. I knew someone was going to die today, and it wasn't going to be me.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So what I did is I told her I loved her. Obviously, I said, "Girl, I love you." I said, She said, "Don't do this. Obviously, this will change your life. It'll ruin your life. The crimes I've been accused of, charged with, I fought to death for a long time. The needle in the arm. It ain't the gas chamber. It ain't no lethal injection." I walked out there. He was already looking at Tony. I pulled that camera back and he went down, man. He went down, and I remember before I shot him, I kept telling him, put the gun down. I do remember a little bit of that. You know what I mean? But I mean, deep down, I wanted to kill him anyway. He was the wrong dude, and no one robs me in my room. He lost his mind. I'm the wrong dude. I married this. It's a dark game, Tony. It's a sad game, homeboy, but I'm playing for keeps. The smell of brains don't bother me. The fact that I ended up getting what I got for killing some jacker in my house, that bothers me. And I walked over to him and I shot him again. So when I wiped it, I had a female roommate. Obviously, she ended up telling me it is what it is, and it's part of the game. People come out and they start screaming. When you got a laying on the ground, it's not good. And I had taken the gun, and right away he started.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I didn't know if anybody was hearing them gunshots, because at 10:30 in the suburbs, out in the middle of country land, because that's what it is at the country, retired folks up there, and them gunshots was real and loud. That's deafening, like lightning. That's a big boy gun. It does big boy damage. And right away, right when I was looking at him, I watched him, and I didn't feel this pain, this sorrow, the oath factor. Only thing I could think about is I'm going to prison for the rest of my life for this right here. Now, you people out there on the street, obviously, you would have picked the phone up and contacted police. and you wouldn't be in jail. You wouldn't be in prison. But because who I am and how I live my life, you're going to jail. So what comes next comes natural to me. After I took that gun and buried it under a tree, I came back and I started taking him apart piece by piece. And you're probably sitting there going, damn. Well, that's what it is. See, to me, he's a problem. He's a dead guy in my house, and I'm selling drugs over here. I'm selling black tar. I'm the High-End Redding's most ruthless drug dealer. And I got people who want to come over and buy it. See, that was a problem for me. See, that charge isn't a charge. It's an enhancement. It goes with other charges. So obviously that charge alone, with 187, I got one charge. It's 50 years, Tony, discharging a firearm, causing great bodily harm, death, and injury. We're talking time. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of years. 187 is 25 to life with an enhancement. See, with the new, now you're in San Quentin down there with all the rest of the big boys, and it ain't good. So I kept sawing him, and I kept sawing him, and I kept cutting him until like an avocado. And I was stuffing that inside of a bag. I mean, this is what my life has become. See, I was just, only thing I'm thinking about at this time is a life sentence, sitting in a box, talking to you on a phone, maybe waiting for some commissary, hoping for a package. These were things that every gangster, if you are one or know one or are associated with one, then these are the thoughts that are going, or anyone who's been to prison. Anyone who's been to prison with a who can't pick up that phone, Tony, and call the cops and say, hey, I was just, and I looked over, Bambi was in the door crying. And I didn't know why she was crying. Still, all I could think about is I need to get rid of this dude, and I need to get rid of him fast. But cutting him up, Tony, it wasn't working like that. After a while, Tony, you kind of give up.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'll call a couple people, and a couple people, we will take care of this. I have dealt with problems like this in the past with other people, friends who called me. I'm the type of dude you want to call when you got a problem. I had realized right then that Bambi was watching all of this, and I probably still to this day she's tormented by the things that she saw and watched me do, and for that I'm sorry. I am sorry, but obviously the goal was to get rid of him and any trace of him. At the time, someone's knocking at the door, trying to buy black tar that I had told come by. Obviously, I didn't have time to tell him that I had a in my living room, and I just started to really panic, even though I had the windows to my house spray painted black from the inside, so you'll never see lights turned on. You can't tell me I'm the tweaker with the lights always on or something happening. Nothing is happening at my house. I'm a little hip to these laws, like I said, so I was worried. It broad daylight, you're chopped up hamburger helper, and I just decided that I was going to put him in the trash can outside and then come back, go take one of my vehicles. I had several vehicles, several motorcycles, you name it. I owned it. Drugs bought me everything in my black car, bought me everything I ever dreamed of in my life. So that was the only thing that I wanted to protect was my lifestyle, the woman I was with, and get rid of the problem who was a dead corpse in my house. And leaving him there wasn't an option. So I ended up taking some of my clothes, redressing him, and then bringing one of those big, those big garbage, those big garbage recyclables, the plastic ones in front of everybody's house in America, the ones you put out at the curb. I went and I ended up grabbing one of those, bringing those inside. At that time, Bambi started, doing her thing for me, cleaning up the place. And this is old news. That's why I'm even speaking on it, because I'm already convicted. You can't convict me twice. And I just remember her cleaning it up the best she could and telling me, I remember her telling me, you ruined our life. Why did you ruin our life? What did you do? And this was nothing to her as well. She has been right there with me, my little rock through it all. She's seen me drop punks, drop people. I can't tell you the crimes that I've committed, because it's astronomical how many crimes, or had someone attack somebody, break somebody's legs with baseball bats in front of Wind River Casino, and I can't tell you, run people off the like horrible crimes, organized crimes. And you're probably thinking, well, how do you get people to do this? It's simple. You get desperate people, Tony. You go down to that robber terminal that I told you, and you go hire yourself to people who ain't got nothing in the world. $100 to someone who's living on the streets ain't nothing. And you think they're going to tell on you? They're going to do these crimes and do exactly what you tell them to do, and they're going to hope you come back, and they did it well enough that you come back and hire them again. It's that simple. When you're looking for people, or you're trying to do something, you find someone who's more desperate than you at that time, and they will do what you need them to do. And as a criminal, there's nothing having someone else commit a crime while you're sitting on camera at a movie theater. I'm just saying, you get better. I got better. And this man dead in my living room was causing me havoc and panic. So I put him in some clothes, put him in a trash can. I wheeled him outside, thinking nobody was stupid enough to come and look in my trash or to pay attention. And I got to work cleaning myself, bleaching, washing that using ammonia, nail polish remover. This is going to fucking help for GSW gunshot residue. Do you know what I'm saying? It's going to help you. And when I put him outside, Tony fucked up. I never thought in a million years that somebody would come along and look in that trash can, Tony. I had beaten narco police at every single point. Sin tests, I beat you. I beat you every single time. And I never thought that it would be the homicide boys. When they get involved, Tony, it's a whole nother ball game. They got unlimited finances. They got money that the government ain't playing. They take every step. And once I put them in that trash can, Tony, and I left them outside, the unthinkable happened. Somebody walked by and looked in that trash can, or put something in that trash can, and what they found wasn't good. At first, they thought he was an overdose. If you read the reports, people think he was an overdose. See, he was just pale white. He had been drained of all his blood. There wasn't no blood left in him. I had already taken and cleaned him all up and put most of him in a garbage bag, plastic garbage bags. So
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They looked in, Tony. They saw a dead Asian guy. They called the cops. At this point in time, I know if I can keep forensics and all the little special police out of the house, you're trying not to be linked to the crime, it comes back down to this. If I could have kept them out of the house with all the vans and everything else, then they wouldn't have hit my house with luminol in a black light singing the circus. And that's what was coming, Tony. A circus. And I knew this. I knew that now that they had him, the ambulance pulled up. And at the time, my soul was just a buddy of mine who brought him there, but you know who the you are. And I remember him looking him dead in his face. He goes, what the happened here? And I looked him dead in his face and I laughed, Tony. I said, that's what happened. He turned white. And I kind of walked past him. I was just praying. I had locked the house up. I had a Swan 600 system that it was all being recorded. Still to this day, the cops never found the recording.
You mean
I didn't hide.
It was recorded?
It was recorded. It was recorded, so when I put him outside in the trash can, it didn't look so good. You know, I was hoping there wasn't a drop of blood. I've been cleaning the place up spick and span. So when they went in and they realized, see, they didn't know. They started performing CPR, and as soon as they moved his clothes and moved him around, then they realized that they got a problem. They don't have an overdose victim, and nobody heard the gunshots, Tony. They didn't hear broad daylight me shooting. Not one gunshot. So the cops come. They took the little man to the hospital, trying to save his life. I got pictures of him with two in my cell right now, and it's part of my case. They tried to save him, and once they realized that he ain't overdosed, this man has been shot, chopped up, and half of him is missing. The media, they panicked. Well, that's special. See, those are special, what's the word? They're special details about my case that only the killer knew. Of the chopping and everything else. See, they tried to keep this hush-hush. They tried to bargain with me. They ended up finding the murder weapon, Tony. They found it underneath a tree. But still, there was no fingerprints on that. There's nothing. You know, so after they started looking for me, obviously, this goes on. See, I didn't just get caught. I didn't roll over. For me, you were going to have to make it worth it. And I know. I went to my bank. I went to my safe deposit box. See, and it's about beating the law, Tony. Where would you hide your drugs? Did you never think, and I'm going to let everybody know. How did I beat them? I beat you. I beat you. I beat you. How did I beat you? Bank of... I'll tell you how I beat you. Simple. Anybody can go to $36 safe deposit box. You know the safest place in America? I'll tell you, for a drug dealer, it's Bank of... I kept ounces and ounces and pounds of drugs in the bank. That's the safest place in America, Tony, is right in there. And whenever I went there, it's simple. Instead of driving around in the car, again, it's about what you know. Why not hire yourself an Uber or a cab? You ever seen a cab get pulled over on the side of the road being searched? No. The answer is no. It's about what you know, and I beat the narcos. You couldn't get me. But when you come in my house and you take the shades down and you test it for blood, you realize that you've got a circus and nightmare. And it's happened. Another Jeffrey Dahmer, that's what they were trying to compare me. Obviously, I'm not eating nobody. I'm going to put you in a garbage bag. That's more my style. That's not. So I knew I had to leave, obviously. See, once they connected piece by piece, I was already moving, Tony. Moving county from county. They found one there. They found all that money there, and they found a whole lot of guns. A whole lot of guns. So for me, it didn't end there, Tony. I mean, it was just beginning. The beginning was just on the horizon. It was going to end bad for me. And I can tell you, and it did. I ran. They were handing out flyers. Now people can be Googling, searching. Go ahead. And you're going to see them wanted flyers. You're going to see.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.